come to think of it now, I remember an email exchange with Leeds Crown Prosecution Service when I was arguing and debating about my case at one point with one of the prosecutors in email, a lad that they got there. And he was quite, sort of like, don't know if to say cocky or kind of like confident or whatever, boasting about this, like when they cite cases, Johnson versus whatever or whatever. I don't know if it was a case down in the southwest or somewhere in Cornwall possibly, but I may still have the email, but unlikely. So he was basically like going on about, he was showing off about this case that he cited where someone got prosecuted for criminal damage just for drawing on the floor with watercolours or something like that. And he was really kind of like proud of the fact that someone had been prosecuted for criminal damage for watercolours, even though they could wash away. And interestingly, now that I have actually read that Town and Country statutory instruments and the Town and Country Planning Act properly, well, I still haven't read it in its word for word in its entirety because it's not relevant to read all of it. I've read enough of it now to know which each section is about and the relevance of which sections are relevant and not relevant and which ones are omitted and so forth in our use of it. And funnily enough, that if it rains and watercolours wash away, then, there's obviously no damage there. It clearly addresses that fact of of a change in time and, the effects of what time does to a current given situation over a time period. But that's in the Town and Country Planning and then in the Statute Instruments Town and Country Planning that deals with adverts, and also that's what creates the placard notice born from an individual. But is that like carried born by an individual, or like, you give birth to it because you create it, like you create the placard by the creative process, not just like but giving birth to it, not carrying on it. It's born by a donkey or born by a person. It's just like aboard you. It's carried. It most definitely covers change because you've got to use logic, in all these things. You've got to use initiative, common sense, practicality, intelligence and so forth. A building, what does a building do? A building accumulates dirt, accumulates carbon, it accumulates soot if it's next to a main road, or if there's puddles there and there's vehicles driving past, every time a vehicle drives past, splashes water on and the building gets muddy. The wind, acts of God are constantly corroding the grains of sandstone on the building, and the bricks are crumbling constantly if you speed it up. So, there's that. There's a paragraph in there which takes that into consideration, and this is when you're looking at signs, symbols, writings and so forth, which constitute an advertisement. But what is it for? Products or so forth. The thing is, when in a placard, from an individual, I've lost my dog or so forth or whatever, in letters and signs and writing. That's it. It all comes down to consent. I don't think you're using the right to petition necessarily if you've lost your cat. That's the thing, an enactment. But it's definitely not a commercial advertisement. There's all the religious rights and so forth for displaying notices that aren't commercial. Now, the thing is, I don't want to go back over all that matter of the representation and so forth. Funnily enough, Anonymous just did a representation where they kind of like crucified the remains of Rockefeller, and it kind of like made me think of it was ironic because when I was reading the Act and thinking about representation, and then you're thinking about what can you and can't you do, like breaking buildings and all this damage. What will if it's not an advertisement? It's damage. It's like making me think of, when Watson was saying to me in court about, like, can you kill someone? And I was thinking, well, no one, I don't think anyone has intentionally killed anyone yet in a political demonstration unless it's one of the police's stunts that we could kind of maybe prove, or the IRA. But, so far it's only, people are putting themselves at risk and danger. But then again, so the emergency services all the time in the line of duty. So, but then I thought of what the representation where someone gets killed is Jesus, the crucifixion, but that was meant to be the punishment for a crime. But the ironic thing is that we've got this symbol, this representation of Jesus dying, but they've got it up everywhere. A man dying, a representation everywhere in every church of a man dying. I mean, the Pope has one. I kind of think they're comical sometimes, almost like, they've got Santa Claus or Rudolph, like plastic light up ones. A guy in a shop near us has got this kind of it's kind of like a brown coloured Rudolph, and it's a little bit shorter. It's like having a little, it's kind of like it's an effigy. It's funny. It's kind of ridiculous in a way, and sometimes I think of some of those Christ figures are a little bit, poor quality, and the size is not the correct scale to a real man. It's like an off-scale sized man, a little bit too small or a little bit too big or whatever. But it's meant to be someone who's killed, dead. As a symbol, as a sign, as a message. That is ironic, So I mean, maybe I should have said to Watson, in court when he said, well, it's immunity, the right to immunity. What happens if someone kills someone? Well, said, well, Your Honour, I should have said, well, Christ died to save us from our sins, and that is his sign and symbol in every church. You should put my hand on the Bible. That's what would have been. But the ironic thing is, once you start looking into immunity, you've got all these acts in the armed forces where that they're not liable for the death of each other, even in training or when you're in property or in equipment and vehicles to do with the armed forces, and the part of it's to do with petition of the king, it's right, the subject to petition of the king, and all prosecutions for doing so are illegal. I mean, if they result in each other's death, maybe they're not liable because they're in the service of the crown. Although it's an offence to draw arms against the king himself. If you draw arms against the king. But then he uses the words like anything, if anyone would be caused to die by anything, but it might not be arms, he might have not drawn arms against the king. What happens if, by example, one of the soldiers did something when they were all in service and, a fucking walkie-talkie exploded and killed the king. This is the thing. But then there's all that weird stuff that started happening with that soldier whose legs got blown off and all that parade and performance palaver where it stood on a landmine. Whether that was a set-up or stunt or not, I don't know. But it seems to me like with that legislation in place, it's very intimidating in the army, And even if your sergeant or higher up gets killed, while in training or unexpectedly, none of the soldiers are liable. So it's this kind of like who's the boss sort of thing, intimidation, and then you got your rank, you got to obey your officer. That's the rules of the army. But then again, it's this intimidation game, and then you got the whole sometimes they've got those attractive doctors in the army, dressed in the I've seen photographs, some of these women that these soldiers go see, and they look provocative. Some of these female nurses in the army, and it makes you think. What's a soldier thinking? Is this psychological? Am I going to try it on with her? Are you going to try fuck her, or is she going to fuck you if you try and fuck her? Is she going to report you and fuck you? You want to fuck me? I'll fuck you. And then it's like, well, anyone can fuck each other in the army because probably not liable for anyone else's death by anything. Or whatever, and then the sergeant major or the sergeant's like, oh, you want to fuck her, do you? I'll fuck you all. So he wonders if they have a psychological game going on with it. And funnily enough, my mates went to install a climbing wall at Catterick, and they played some trick on them where they had to get an electric lift in there, and while they were installing this climbing wall, someone couldn't change the doors and so forth, so they couldn't get it back out again, and it was stuck in there, so they had to just leave it there, ditch it. They just abandoned it. I think it was a setup. There's been reports of lots of games and stunts. Then again, that's the games and stunts on those, isn't it? With the cameras and the getting the fines and misleading us with the road signs, and then various other things like the moving the planes over his ear, and then doing weird tricks on us outside with the paving slabs and getting us with that. It all seems like a blokey male kind of game to me now. Like on Doctor Who when they've got the Sontarans and he's like laughing, going, ah, ha, 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 ha. You know what I mean? Parlay. It seems like, the dream team, the Manchester United, Greater Manchester, that's what I think we're up against, and I think that's where a lot of the stunts in the newspaper press, I think they've been using these rights themselves, immunities and so forth, to pull stunts. And what is the reason behind this stunt? Well, when you read the Inquiries Act, it says evidence of public concern, which means in order to do things or to get inquiries or to get things through government, there's got to be evidence of public concern. So if they want to push something through like security cameras or all the surveillance things that these officers like and love and want to do more, if they want to put fences around the schools, there's got to be evidence of public concern. Well, how do you do that? Well, there's paedophiles everywhere. Get it on the news. I think that's how they're doing it. They're provoking evidence of public concern and then getting in the news if they want to get something through, like, we want to bang fences around schools and so forth. They're doing it that way. And the ultimate, the crescendo of this, at the highest manifestation, is Putin, and they provoked him. Well, Putin's paid for some impulse for the royals, mates, and all sorts. But is Putin in on it or not? Well, the thing is, if they're provoking Putin into action and so forth through NATO bases and so forth, because they want to get him to do what they want, it's only really like within the army, the sergeants bossing the lads around and getting them, mind games and psychology and messing each other around. It's the army, that's what they do. But that's what it is with Putin. It's the army, it's like, just the good old boys, British army and Putin, he's Mr. Putin, coming over to meet Prime Minister 1 minute, but he's got an army, and then they've got the bloke games, that's how it's playing out, how it's manifesting. And I don't think we should put up with it. I've kind of had enough of it with these Navy ships and, Charles, dun, 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 the adventures of HSBC forming Canada under our regime of the Queen. It's a foreign country, but we've got our own ways of dealing with our own soldiers, and so forth. When they're, within, army enterprises, even though there are no laws over in that country, well, we'll take our own laws over there. This is it. I've kind of had enough of it. But it's not just that now. It's Zuckerberg's coming in with his piece of the pie with his, judo chops, block this, ban that. I'm changing the world's opinion, Forget Putin and missiles. I've got social media advertisements, the man who sold the world. It's like David Bowie, Mark Zuckerberg, the man who sold the world on advertisements and made billions through Mr. Beast bars and junk and crap and spam and, 20,000 impressions that no one bought anything from and wasted, whatever minutes of your time, like Ian Mohan, Neil Mohan, sorry. And now Mark's going to put it all right because the metaverse will cause no real garbage or trash. It's all digital. Yes, Mark, but you already sold all that. You already made the world trash. And now, I'm sorry, I seek forgiveness through the First Testament, or whatever he's going to do with his new haircut. I've got a special haircut, so it's okay, I'm good. I'm a good boy. But blocking and banning everyone and, eradicating forgiveness, Mark, that's not very good for the world, is it really? Or I don't know why the Pope's advocating it, or the Archbishop of Canterbury. It's killing the Christian faith, Mark. And now Elon, even though he's claiming that he's your arch enemy, he's just going to put us all on second tab orders on Messenger. It's tragic. I have had enough of celebrities. I've just had enough of them. I've had enough. Who do they think they are, these people? Mark Zuckerberg needs to get, some proper lawyers who aren't up the government's backside and never mind judo chops. Someone needs to get some proper lawyers in with these people and make them squirm, because I've really had it with Zuckerberg and Clegg. You want a man with glasses, would you? And whatever, where he's a Kingsman with his secret agent devices or whatever he's taking in there. I've kind of had enough of it all. The whole thing, the battleships, the fucking planes, all of it. There's George Galloway going on and on about, peace, let's not have war. Well, George, they are practicing, flying around in RAF fighter planes that we've paid for. Are you saying that we shouldn't need those and should never ever use them? And so what are they flying around in them for, in those RAF planes? What's the point? Just for their own joy and daily leisure. It's a very, apparently it's a very commendable job in skill and talent, George. We have spent billions on those planes. Are you saying that we should scrap them and it's a waste of money? Because according to you, we shouldn't be going to war with anyone. Just peace. We don't need fighter planes. But, someone's joyriding around in them all day. You're taking the time. Oh, it's a skill, Anyway, what we're talking about? Oh yeah, watercolors. Yeah, just I don't know what it is with the CPS. Are they completely and totally retarded? Don't tell me they've never ever looked through the Town and Country Planning Act. Maybe they hadn't. If that's their excuse, then they're severely undereducated and trained, and that is concerning at the most. Whether they're completely and blatantly, purposefully smugly ignoring and undermining our intelligence by not raising the Town and Country Planning Acts at all whatsoever, in which case they know very well that many of these things fall under those acts and are eligible under there, but yet they're still, firing out these criminal damage acts, and the police as well, doof, with the roll your sleeves up, get the, Erwin R. Schneider, muscle-bound police office, sweaty shirt, detectives, I want to do him for criminal damage, I've ripped my shirt, I want to do him for criminal damage, but my muscles are so, my biceps are so big that my shirt's just ripped by my arms are too big for this shirt, police chief, my muscles are too big, my shirt's ripping like the Incredible Hulk, I'm causing damage to my own police shirt, but because of my own muscle power, but it's shredded, but no, it's okay, I can do that, I've got a right, a privilege, and an interest in flexing my muscles, this is it, well, actually, it's not a sign, it's not a sign. It's the give me a sign, hit me baby one more time. Gotta get the truncheon out, boom. That's it. No, it's not a sign. It's not an advertisement. It's an advertisement for a superhero. There's the superintendent. No, it's not a sign, is it? It's not an advertisement. Stick, paste, glue, nail. No, wrong act. If it's an advertisement, then those are necessary procedures in which deemed consent grants anyone who has such consent, because those are the things you use when you have consent granted by the law, believe it or not, unless it's criminal damage. If you would stick, paste, stick, glue, what would you do? Stick, place, glue a shoe. Does it mean anything? I stick and glue a shoe. It's like Point Break, isn't it? Guy's on the beach, waxing his moustache, gets sand in it, and this is canuba wax. This is what surfers use to wax their boards. Guy gets super glue in his moustache, causes criminal damage to, he sticks his shoe on the wall to, get it dry because there's a flood. That's criminal damage. Stick glue, yes, but is it an advertisement? If it is, then it's the wrong act, I'm afraid. It's, there's fireman, it's, here comes the fireman, I'll cut off the car roof, stick glue, 1, 2, ooh, I cut, the woman's hand, I'll have to glue it, oh, are you causing criminal damage to the woman? No, that's a hospital procedure. I'm sure Gail Bradbrook and Roger Hallam and, all the rest of them have been through all these. That's why we see these structures and mobile things and the theatrics of the the theatrical performances, the representations, the whole lot. The only thing is, why are they defending a charge against criminal damage when it is the wrong act? And why are the Crown prosecutors being smug about bringing charges? All right then, drawing even a picture on the floor is a representation, or a sign. Whether or not they've got deemed consent or not is another thing. But with the passage of time and it goes away, in the Criminal Damage Act, it doesn't have that passage of time or anything like that. So you don't have to take that into consideration. But once you start looking at adverts, signs, effigies, representations, pictures, and so forth, then you start taking into the passage of time. And then taking it into consideration, then it will go away by itself. So, what's the trouble? So, on that basis, the Crown prosecutor, young maverick whippersnapper in Leeds, has not got a fucking clue what he's talking about. In fact, if he knew what he was talking about, that would be something, but he doesn't. And, the fact that he either did not know that act, had no idea about that act, or was completely undermining and blatantly in contempt of that act is a critical failure of the Crown Prosecution Service. Now, this is the question. Do they know? Are they lying or not? And, this is when we get stuff like this in the Crown prosecution, things like, where there is no fault on the part of the complainant or the prosecution, it will be very rare for a stay to be granted. Just a minute, the complainant, well, isn't that the person who's been offended, or the prosecution? What about the defendant? No stay should be granted in the absence of serious prejudice to the defence, so that no fair trial can be held. No stay should be granted in the absence of serious prejudice to the defence, so that no fair trial can be held. Well, there's always prejudice. There's going to be prejudice against the defence if they're completely undermining an entire act which is likely to, or guaranteed to, remove the charge completely, because there is no charge, because it's all dealt with under a completely different act, which are the offences are under that act, because they did not have consent, and there are fines and so forth and procedures, under it. And then, and that is the particular act which brings in the passage of time, which the grains of sand may blow away. Oh, it's Gail Bradbrook blowing a gale. And, this is it. Oh, just a minute. Well, that's not in the Criminal Damage Act. Well, I know that's why, because it's not an advertisement. A picture, a representation, in watercolour. Well, if you were treating it as an advertisement in watercolour, doesn't matter whether you had consent or not. We'll take into consideration that it says a passage of time, which may change circumstances, and it's gone. Oh, right. Well, there's no need to charge them, is there? Taking into consideration. Well, why don't you do that in the Criminal Damage Act? Well, because I can't fuck them in that act. Well, does that completely undermine the whole prosecution of whether or not the law actually permits this and it's not actually really a crime or criminal damage? Why show off about prosecuting fucking someone for putting watercolours that wash away then, you smug twat? You know, this is it. This is Starmer, and we've just got evidence of Starmer's character and behaviour from one of his close friends who has now been removed from the Labour Party, who featured on Not the Andrew Marr Show 4 days ago. I've just watched that. And, you know, she is revealing the character of Starmer. You know, this is Starmer. This is the things that he does in the CPS, how they're trained, how they're taught, like that Leeds Crown prosecutor. They're not necessarily nice people. Yes, they deal with very dangerous criminals, murderers, crooks, and so forth. I think it corrodes them. I think it gives them a political position. And then when you've got just normal people who are, you know, normal citizens, and it's not really a murder case or, you know, anything serious really, then they do this smugness. But maybe it affects them psychologically, you know. Maybe, but I think it undermines the prosecution. And then this is, you know, like, you know, fair trial impossible, or just, you know, abusive process. You know, where there is no fault on the part of the complainant or the prosecutor. Well, the complainant, is that the defence or what? Who's the complainant? You know, I think that it's the victim, isn't it? The complainant surely is the victim. But then again, the police sometimes press charges even though the victim doesn't want to. Who's the complainant then? You know, the police officer. Well, there is no fault on the part of the complainant or the prosecution. It could be the police or the prosecution, that, or the you know, the person who reported it. There's not necessarily a victim if it's criminal damage to the obviously the council might be the complainant if it's like on the pavement. It would be very rare for a stay to be granted. Or does that mean that because the prosecution, the defendant might raise it? Well, you know, that's it. The no stay should be granted in the absence of serious prejudice to the in absence of serious prejudice to the defence. Where there is no fault on the part of the complainant or the prosecutor, it will be very rare for a stay to be granted. Yeah, well, you know why? Because the matter would be raised by the defence, and the victim and the prosecution likely would not want to entertain the idea of getting proceedings stayed, which means that they've got bias and prejudice. Clearly, you know. Well, there is a fault there. And in the rare case where they even admit fault, that's what I meant. In the rare case where they admit fault. Well, there clearly is. In this case, I think in a lot of these Extinction Rebellion cases, there is a fault on behalf of the prosecution because they seem to be acting as if the Town and Country Planning Act and the statutory instruments don't exist. And there's got to be something in that Gail Bradbrook with a hammer that's an instrument, and the fact that Starmer's dad was a toolmaker and she uses the screwdriver. I don't know if whether it was like all, you know, like Jodie Whittaker trying to be, you know, the doctor with the sonic screwdriver. That's what I thought at the time. But now I'm thinking statutory instruments, and, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, Starmer's dad's a toolmaker or whatever. You know, clearly the person who wrote the Town and Country Planning Act and the statutory instruments was the real toolmaker who accounted for all these things that could be done, particularly when it comes to the exercise of rights and automatic permissions. But even then, Schedule 2 was saying that, you know, he kind of claimed that you may not be exempt from all of that. Well, clearly you would be if you know the law properly and your rights. And then, you know, even 3D, which is 3D is something advertising a political event, which apparently cannot be over 0.8 metres in area, which I've seen political advertising events a lot bigger than that without any problem. You know, I don't know why they're saying 3D, because, you know, it's almost like having a joke about the painting the surface and incorporating into the fabric of it. It isn't regarded to be you know, what concerns me most about these cases is everything seems to, the way they want to do it is all about what is reasonable, what is, what can substantiate, what is fair, what is just, and what is reasonable. Those measures and all those tests are not relevant. I mean, I don't know where all that crap comes from. All that is for, someone stealing a car and putting a window through or something like that. When it comes to rights, there is no such thing, because it's like the policeman, at speed. How fast can he go over the speed limit? Well, it doesn't say. What's reasonable? What's a reasonable? What's proportionate? There isn't. If he's firstly, if he's using it for that purpose, he's pretty much, we're into the progress. Well, I need to make progress. It didn't say, but what speed? It just says, if it were into the progress of the vehicle for the purpose which is being used, you have to observe the speed limit. Well, right. So, but how fast can you go? Well, it didn't say. How much of the fabric of the building the advertisements are never incorporated into the fabric of the building, or never considered when you painted it, no matter how much the paint seeps around the cracks. This is it. And then Rishi Sunak was showing off saying he hadn't moved an inch or something on it, which basically means that policing bill's a bit of a con, really. But I don't know what's going on with all that fucking locking on business. There's. I don't think. I really don't think that they could have made some of those enactments myself. But I think Gail's case was from before then anyway, wasn't it? So, but anyway, I think the prosecution are either A, not trained or educated, or B, they are smug and aloof and they know things that they're not letting on, which means that they are in abusive process and they're breaking their own rules, which say that, if anything that they know about which may prove the innocence, which is, an entire act, this is it. Particularly when it comes down to that fucking watercolour on the pavement. So that's what I think. And I've been talking for half an hour now, and I've still uploaded previous videos.